Hudson nights, five silhouettes cut the fog like cold steel. Let her hover at ya, heartbeat let ya. We move, we never need.
Yeah. Five brothers, tight foes, bloodlines braided cold in my veins. 12 tribes on the cornerstones, names echo never plain. Back to Hudson Plantation, digging truth from buried clay. 10 toes planted, chest heavy cadence, ready for whatever comes next. Legacy on my breath, history's breath on my neck. Keep checks. Yeah.
Five brothers, 12 tribes, one legacy, and more on the way. Blood maps seem split past, we stitch the story to today. We move like shadow kings, hush whispers make the streets obey.
Yeah. Vivian Sinclair writes the margins, ledger sharp, pen cuts right. Homay Chio counts the decimals, quiet math, angles tight. They call the ghost when silence won't bend. He redraws the scene, new players hit the mission, but the origin's older than the dream. More brothers still to come, we assemble backbone and steam. Behind the glass, something larger breathes, towers knock on the night. Paper hands, satin plans, they slide the signatures to light. We read the chest, move roots through concrete, never bow to beams. Oath marrow deep, whisper roots that thread across their schemes. If they pull strings, we grow trunks, roots louder than their play.
Five brothers, 12 tribes, one legacy, and more on the way. Blood map seems split past, we stitch the story to today. We move like shadow kings, hush whispers make the streets obey.
The fire was gone. The smoke had long since drifted into history. Where Hudson Plantation once stood, only blackened earth remained. Collapsed brick chimneys pierced the sky like broken gravestones. Twisted iron fencing disappeared beneath layers of ash. The mansion, the laboratories, the hidden tunnels, everything that had once concealed generations of darkness had been reduced to silence. Yet somehow, the silence felt alive. The official investigation had declared the fire an accident. The media had moved on. The state had fenced off the property. But Marcus Hall knew better. Standing several miles away on an overlooking ridge, he lowered a pair of military binoculars. The destruction hadn't ended the mystery. It had scattered it. He reached into his coat and unfolded a weathered map. The old plantation had been circled in red. Dozens of additional locations spread outward across the surrounding counties like cracks in broken glass. Each one connected by handwritten notes, underground utility corridors, abandoned churches, forgotten rail lines, condemned redevelopment projects. Every path pointed toward a single location, Center Creek. Marcus quietly folded the map. They weren't protecting the plantation. He looked toward the distant city lights. They were protecting what the plantation was hiding. Behind him, the sound of tires crunching across gravel broke the silence. A convoy of black SUVs rolled to a stop. Doors opened. Nehemiah Davis stepped out first. Joshua Stevens followed close behind, carrying an encrypted field tablet beneath one arm. Ezekiel Todd exited with an old leather satchel filled with recovered journals and artifacts. Gad Moonwind scanned the surrounding tree line before his boots even touched the ground. The last door opened. Barnabus Ben Israel climbed out without saying a word. His calm eyes studied every direction. Marcus smiled slightly. "The whole family's here." Nehemiah approached. "You said it couldn't wait. It can't." Marcus handed Joshua a secure tablet. "Everything we've recovered since the plantation burned is inside." Joshua activated the display. Satellite imagery appeared, then disappeared, then reappeared. Entire neighborhoods flashed across the screen. Construction permits, financial transfers, missing persons reports, military procurement records, underground utility schematics. Dozens of unrelated investigations, somehow connected. Joshua looked up. "Who built all of this?" Marcus answered quietly. "Not Hudson." The group fell silent. Marcus walked toward the hood of one of the SUVs and spread several oversized aerial photographs across it. You destroyed one headquarters. He pointed toward Center Creek. They have another. Joshua leaned closer. This isn't another plantation. No. Marcus shook his head. It's much bigger. He traced a line beneath the city. How everything beneath Center Creek was built decades before Hudson Plantation. Ezekiel stepped beside him. That matches the journals. Marcus looked at him. What did you find? Ezekiel carefully removed one of the recovered books from his satchel. The pages were brittle, darkened by age. The leather binding had nearly fallen apart. This journal belonged to one of the earliest caretakers. Marcus frowned. Hudson? Ezekiel slowly shook his head. No. He turned several pages. The Hudson family didn't begin the work. They inherited it. Silence settled over the group. Joshua stared at the ancient pages. So somebody else started all of this? Ezekiel nodded. Long before Hudson Plantation existed. Marcus crossed his arms, which means burning the plantation didn't destroy the organization. It only destroyed one of its facilities. Nehemiah looked toward the distant skyline of Center Creek. So where do we start? Marcus reached into his coat again. This time he removed a thick manila folder stamped with a federal seal. Classified. He laid it on the hood. Inside were photographs, security camera stills, financial records, satellite images, autopsy reports. Every page pointed toward the same conclusion. People were still disappearing. Construction crews, surveyors, utility workers, police officers, entire investigative teams. None of them had been seen again. Marcus took a slow breath. The official story says they're missing. He closed the folder. The truth is, I don't think they ever left. Marcus opened the classified folder again. One by one, he spread the photographs across the hood of the SUV. Every image carried the same unsettling pattern. Construction sites, condemned churches, abandoned hospitals, old municipal tunnels, places most people drove past every day without giving them a second thought. Joshua picked up one photograph, an unfinished apartment complex. Yellow police tape fluttered in the wind. No workers, no vehicles, only abandoned equipment. The report says the entire construction crew disappeared. Marcus nodded. 43 men. Joshua looked up. 43? They vanished during daylight. Nehemiah frowned. Witnesses? Marcus shook his head. None. Joshua picked up another photograph. A maintenance tunnel beneath Center Creek. Concrete walls, rusted pipes, fresh footprints. No people, only a radio lying in a puddle. They found this 6 miles from the construction site. Marcus slid another file toward him. The radio was still transmitting. What did it record? Marcus didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pressed play on a small encrypted recorder. Static filled the air, then breathing, heavy breathing, someone running, metal doors slamming, a frightened voice echoed through the speaker. We're not alone down here. Gunfire erupted in the recording. Several men shouted over one another, move, fall back, they're behind us. Another burst of automatic fire. Then, silence. 5 long seconds passed. Finally, a whisper. So many eyes. The recording ended. No one spoke. Even the desert wind seemed quieter. Barnabus slowly folded his arms. That wasn't panic. Marcus looked at him. What was it? Barnabus answered without hesitation. Recognition. Everyone turned toward him. The man on that recording wasn't surprised something was down there. He realized what it was. Joshua stared at the silent recorder. You think they'd seen it before? Barnabus nodded once. I think they knew exactly what they were running from. Marcus placed another photograph onto the hood. This one showed an old stone church standing alone at the edge of Center Creek. The building appeared abandoned. Its stained glass windows were shattered. The bell tower leaned slightly to one side. Thick vines climbed the ancient brick walls. Nehemiah narrowed his eyes. This church, Marcus nodded. It was scheduled for demolition. Joshua looked closer. But they never tore it down. No. Marcus tapped the image. The demolition crew disappeared 2 days before work began. Ezekiel quietly opened one of the recovered journals. Several faded sketches filled the pages. Ancient hallways, massive underground chambers, stone arches, Hebrew inscriptions carved into walls. He stopped on one particular drawing. His expression changed immediately. Marcus noticed. What is it? Ezekiel turned the journal toward everyone. The sketch matched the church exactly. Every crack, every tower, every window. Joshua leaned closer. This journal's over 100 years old. Ezekiel slowly nodded, which means The church looked exactly like this long before anyone alive today ever saw it. Marcus looked from the journal to the photograph, back to the journal again. They built around it. Joshua frowned. What? Marcus pointed toward the surrounding streets. Center Creek kept expanding. Roads changed, buildings changed, businesses changed. But this church, he tapped the photograph again, never moved. Silence settled over the group. Gad finally spoke. I don't like places that survive everything. Marcus smiled faintly. Neither do I. He reached beneath the stack of photographs and removed one final satellite image. Unlike the others, this one showed thermal signatures. Bright red, deep orange, hundreds of heat sources, all beneath the city. Joshua blinked. That's impossible, Marcus answered quietly. So we thought. He enlarged the image. The underground passages stretched for miles beneath Center Creek. Some tunnels connected to abandoned subway systems. Others disappeared beneath churches, government buildings, historic cemeteries, even the courthouse. Joshua slowly lowered the tablet. This isn't one underground facility. Marcus nodded. It's an entire underground network. Nehemiah crossed his arms. How long has it been there? Marcus looked toward Ezekiel. The historian slowly closed the journal. Long enough. That Hudson Plantation was never the beginning. It was only one chapter. The realization settled over the entire team. Everything they had fought, everything they had uncovered, everything they had destroyed. It hadn't ended the conspiracy. It had exposed it. Marcus finally broke the silence. I've already requested federal authorization. Joshua looked up. For what? Marcus smiled. A larger operation. Nehemiah noticed the expression immediately. You already know they're going to approve it. Marcus nodded. They approved it yesterday. Everyone looked at him. Marcus reached into his coat one final time. He removed a sealed black envelope. Across the front, only 3 words were printed in silver letters. Priority 1 mission. Marcus carefully laid the black envelope across the hood of the SUV. No one reached for it. No one needed to. The silver letters alone carried enough weight. Priority 1 mission. Nehemiah looked directly at Marcus. You've never used that designation before. Marcus nodded. Because I've never had a reason. He slowly opened the envelope. Inside rested a single classified operations folder. Alongside it, 5 military identification cards. Each card already contained the team's photographs, updated security clearances, federal authorization codes, and one new designation, Task Force Legacy. Joshua picked up his identification card. His eyes narrowed. You've been planning this. Marcus smiled. I've been preparing for this. Barnabus examined his own credentials. Department of Homeland Security. He looked back at Marcus. I've never worked under federal authority. Marcus answered calmly. You still don't. Barnabus raised an eyebrow. Marcus closed the folder. You answer to me. A faint smile crossed Barnabas' face. I can live with that. Marcus stepped around the front of the SUV. The desert wind carried ash from the distant remains of Hudson Plantation. He looked toward the horizon. For decades, people believed Hudson Plantation was the source. He shook his head. It wasn't. It was a doorway. Joshua quietly asked, a doorway to what? Marcus looked toward Center Creek. Something much older. Ezekiel slowly removed another document from his satchel. Unlike the journals, this wasn't handwritten. It was a faded government report, stamped, redacted. Nearly every paragraph had been blacked out. Joshua leaned over his shoulder. Where did you get that? The archives. I wasn't supposed to. Marcus took the report. Across the top, one line remained visible, Project Foundation. The date beneath it stopped everyone, 1957. Nehemiah frowned. That doesn't make sense, Marcus nodded. It doesn't. Joshua pointed toward the report. Hudson Plantation was already standing, Marcus answered. Exactly. So why would the government call this Project Foundation? Silence. Ezekiel quietly spoke. Because Hudson Plantation wasn't the foundation. It was the cover. The realization settled over everyone. The conspiracy had never revolved around a single estate. The plantation had simply hidden one entrance into something much larger. Marcus unfolded another aerial map. Unlike the previous photographs, this one showed utility corridors stretching beneath Center Creek. Blue lines, red lines, black tunnels. Some ended beneath abandoned churches, others beneath schools, government buildings, historic cemeteries. Joshua followed one route with his finger. It connects everything. Marcus nodded. Every missing person case, every abandoned project, every sealed investigation. They all intersect here. His finger stopped beneath the old church district, the same district scheduled for demolition, the same district abandoned after multiple contractor disappearances, the same district that appeared inside Ezekiel's century-old journal. Gad studied the map without speaking. Finally, he looked toward Marcus. How many people know about this? Marcus didn't hesitate. Too many, and too few. Barnabus crossed his arms. Meaning? Marcus looked each member of the team in the eyes. There are people trying to expose it, and there are people willing to kill to protect it. Joshua quietly closed the folder. The feeders. Marcus nodded once. The feeders. The public thinks they're philanthropists, developers, business leaders, political donors. They build hospitals. They fund charities. They appear on magazine covers. He paused. But behind closed doors, they finance silence. Ezekiel looked toward the burned horizon behind them. So burning Hudson Plantation hurt them. Marcus nodded. It hurt one arm, but the body survived. Nehemiah's voice became steady. Then we stopped chasing buildings. Everyone looked at him. We start hunting the people, Marcus smiled. For the first time, you're asking the right question. At that exact moment, Joshua's secure tablet vibrated. Once, then again, an encrypted transmission. Marcus looked at the screen. His expression changed immediately. What is it? Nehemiah asked. Marcus turned the tablet toward the team. Across the display, only 3 words appeared. Priority 1 updated then. A new map loaded. Center Creek, highlighted in red. Dozens of flashing markers appeared beneath the city. Each one represented another disappearance, another abandoned site, another piece of the conspiracy. Marcus slowly closed the tablet. They're moving. Nehemiah picked up his rifle case. Then we're out of time. Far beyond the distant skyline, a helicopter could already be heard approaching. Its rotors echoed across the desert. The operation had begun. The helicopter skimmed low across the Mojave Desert. Its rotors carved through the night as rolling walls of dust chased beneath it. Inside the cabin, no one spoke. The red emergency lights bathed every face in crimson. Nehemiah Davis sat nearest the open side door, one gloved hand gripping the safety strap, while the other rested across his HK-416. His eyes never left the darkness below. Across from him, Joshua Stevens closed the encrypted tablet Marcus Hall had given him less than 20 minutes earlier. The satellite images still burned in his mind. Entire city blocks, heat signatures, unknown armed personnel, underground structures stretching for miles beneath Center Creek. None of it officially existed. Ezekiel Todd quietly turned an ancient brass medallion between his fingers. The symbol engraved upon it matched markings found inside Hudson Plantation. The same markings now appeared beneath Center Creek. Gad Moonwind looked out into the darkness. His instincts bothered him. Not because he saw movement, because he didn't. The desert's too quiet. Barnabus Ben Israel checked the magazine inside his MP7A1 before snapping it into place. You expecting company? Gad never looked away. I'm expecting hunters. Marcus Hall's voice crackled through every headset. All units, listen carefully. A digital map illuminated across Joshua's tablet. Red circles appeared, one after another, 23 separate missing person clusters. Everyone connected to abandoned construction zones, everyone surrounding the new Center Creek redevelopment district. Marcus continued. Since Hudson Plantation burned, 68 tactical teams have entered this sector. Joshua frowned. I thought the official number was 12. It was. Silence. The other 56 never existed. Barnabas slowly looked toward Nehemiah. This mission just got promoted. Marcus continued. You are no longer conducting reconnaissance. Another red icon flashed, then another, then another. You are entering hostile territory. The helicopter suddenly lurched violently. Warning alarms screamed. The pilot shouted, "Missile!"
The aircraft banked hard. A streak of orange fire ripped through the night sky. The missile missiled by less than 20 feet before exploding across the canyon wall. The shockwave rocked the helicopter. Everyone grabbed hold. Marcus yelled through comms.
Contact!
Tracer rounds erupted from the darkness below. Entire canyon walls suddenly came alive. Machine guns, heavy weapons, rocket launchers. Somebody had been waiting. Nehemiah immediately stood.
They knew we were coming!
Barnabas slapped another magazine into his weapon.
Then let's disappoint them.
The helicopter flared low. The side doors exploded open. Fast ropes dropped into darkness.
Nehemiah didn't hesitate. He grabbed the rope.
Go!
He disappeared into the night. Joshua followed, then Ezekiel, then Gad.
Barnabas came down last. The moment his boot struck the desert floor, an explosion ripped through the landing zone. Sand shot 50 feet into the air. Bullets tore across the ground. Mercenaries hidden among abandoned construction equipment opened fire from 3 different directions.
They're flanking. Nehemiah rolled behind a bulldozer. Joshua, I'm good. Ezekiel, moving. Gad, already hunting. Barnabas stepped directly into incoming fire. He calmly raised the MP7. 3 controlled bursts. 3 mercenaries collapsed without breaking stride. The desert became a battlefield. Explosions illuminated unfinished apartment complexes. Concrete dust filled the air. Sniper rounds shattered abandoned storefront windows. Joshua sprinted between wrecked vehicles while returning precise fire. A mercenary rounded the corner. Joshua ducked. The rifle cracked. Before the enemy could fire, Barnabas intercepted him. One brutal elbow, a weapon strip, a knee to the ribs. The rifle never discharged. Barnabas caught it before it hit the ground. Joshua stared. "You practiced that?" Barnabas simply handed him the recovered rifle. "Move." Gad knelt beside fresh footprints. He smiled. "They're retreating." Nehemiah shook his head. "No," Gad pointed toward the ground. "They're hurting us." Everyone stopped. Joshua slowly looked ahead. The abandoned construction site wasn't random. The unfinished streets, collapsed buildings, concrete walls, they formed a funnel, leading directly toward the old church district, exactly where Marcus Hall's intelligence suggested the underground entrances began. Nehemiah looked toward the darkness. "They're forcing us underground." Marcus's voice returned. "Nehemiah?" "I know." Marcus sounded uneasy. "I didn't tell you to go underground." A pause. "Something else is making them run." The gunfire suddenly stopped. Every mercenary disappeared into the darkness. No retreat commands, no vehicles, just silence. Even the wind vanished. Gad slowly raised his rifle. "They're gone." Barnabas frowned. "No." He looked deeper into the unfinished streets. "They're hiding." Then a scream echoed somewhere beneath the city. Not a human scream, not an animal. Something impossibly deep, something ancient. The ground itself seemed to vibrate. Joshua whispered, "What was that?" No one answered, because every member of the team had already realized the same terrifying truth. The mercenaries hadn't been protecting the tunnels. They had been trying to stay away from whatever lived inside them. For several seconds, no one moved. The tunnel mouth sat ahead of them like an open wound in the earth. Dark, wet, breathing cold air into the ruined construction site. The abandoned mercenary positions surrounded the team in every direction. Rifles lay across sandbags, spent casings covered the concrete. Blood streaked the dust in long, dragging lines that led toward the tunnel entrance. Not away from it, toward it. Joshua slowly raised his rifle light. The beam cut across the tunnel opening. Nothing. Nehemiah lifted one clenched fist. Everyone stopped. Gad tilted his head, listening. Barnabas whispered, "Something's moving." Ezekiel tightened his grip around the recovered satchel. Then a voice came from inside the tunnel, weak, broken, terrified. "Help me."
Help me.
A Black Watch soldier stumbled out of the darkness. His armor was torn. His helmet was gone. One hand dragged across the concrete, while the other clutched the side of his neck. Joshua stepped forward. Nehemiah grabbed his vest.
Hold.
The soldier fell to one knee.
Please.
He looked up at them. His eyes were wide with the kind of fear none of them had ever seen on a trained killer.
They're not dead. Who?
The soldier trembled.
They wait.
Behind him, the darkness shifted. Not like a man walking, not like an animal crawling, like the tunnel itself had opened its eyes. The soldier heard it. His mouth opened.
No.
A lean humanoid body slammed the soldier sideways into the concrete barrier. Long fingers locked into his armor. Its head snapped down. Teeth struck flesh. The soldier screamed as the creature dragged him backward, tearing into him with savage hunger.
Contact! Nehemiah opened fire. The tunnel erupted. Muzzle flashes lit the humanoid for half a second at a time. Ash-gray skin, sunken ribs, long arms, white eyes with no pupils, a mouth too wide for its face. It shrieked and crawled up the wall, dragging the soldier with it like he weighed nothing. Barnabas stepped forward, firing controlled bursts. "Light it up!" Joshua swept his beam across the tunnel. Then he froze. The beam caught another pair of eyes, then another, then 10 more, then 20. Different heights, different angles, some low to the ground, some clinging to the wall, some hanging from broken rebar above the tunnel ceiling. Gad's voice dropped. They're not alone. The first wave came out low, fast, silent, until they were almost on top of them. Then the screams began. Nehemiah shouted, "Formation!" The 5 brothers closed into a hard defensive line as the humanoids spilled from the tunnel mouth. Gunfire ripped through the construction zone. Joshua fired left, dropped one, then pivoted right as another crawled over the hood of a wrecked truck. Ezekiel ducked as a humanoid leapt over him. Barnabus caught it midair with his shoulder and drove it into a concrete wall. The creature snapped at his face. Barnabus slammed his forearm under its throat and fired twice into its chest. It kept moving. Barnabas's eyes widened. "They don't stop easy." Gad fired once. The creature collapsed. "Spine," Gad said. "Drop the spine." Nehemiah adjusted immediately. "Aim center high, neck and spine." The team shifted. The next humanoid launched from a scaffold. Joshua spun, but it was too close. Before it reached him, Ezekiel swung the satchel strap around its throat and pulled back hard. The creature thrashed, clawing at the air. Joshua stepped sideways and fired into the back of its neck. It dropped at his feet. Joshua looked at Ezekiel. Ezekiel was breathing hard. "These records are getting heavier." Joshua almost laughed. Almost. Another scream cut through the sight. This one came from above. A humanoid crawled across the underside of a crane arm, upside down, moving like a spider in human skin. Gad tracked it, one above. The creature dropped. Barnabus shoved Nehemiah out of the way and took the hit across his shoulder. Both of them crashed into the dirt. The humanoid clawed at Barnabas's vest, snapping its teeth inches from his neck. Barnabas roared and drove his knee up into its ribs. Nehemiah recovered, pressed the barrel of his rifle against the creature's skull, and fired. The body went limp. Barnabas shoved it off. "You owe me one." Nehemiah pulled him up. "I'll put it on the list." The tunnel kept moving. More eyes appeared. More bodies crawled out. Then the floodlights flickered. Once, twice. The construction site fell into darkness. Only weapon lights remained. Joshua shouted, "They're using the dark." Gad answered, "They were waiting for it." A humanoid struck from the left and ripped a mercenary corpse behind cover. Another one darted between 2 bulldozers. A third ran on all 4 straight toward Ezekiel. Barnabas saw it. Ezekiel! He intercepted it with his whole body, crushing it against a concrete pillar. The pillar cracked. Dust fell. The creature screamed into his face. Barnabas pushed harder. Not him. He fired until it stopped moving. Static burst across their radios. Marcus Hall's voice came through broken and distorted. "Task Force Legacy, come in." Nehemiah kept firing. "Marcus, bad time." "I know," Marcus snapped. "I've got new intel." Center Creek just lit up across every buried file I've been chasing. Joshua looked down at his tablet as it vibrated. A file began loading through static. The screen flickered. One name appeared first, Vivian Sinclair. Joshua's face changed. Nehemiah saw it. "What?" Joshua swallowed. "Vivian Sinclair." For the first time since the battle started, Ezekiel stopped moving. The name hit him harder than the screams. Barnabas looked between them. "You know her?" Nehemiah's jaw tightened. "Chicago." For a moment, the battlefield became memory. Flames, smoke, underground cells, prisoners running through fire, feeders screaming as the captives they had broken finally turned on them. Vivian Sinclair standing at the edge of the inferno in a white coat, calm as judgment. Nehemiah had seen her disappear into the flames before he could reach her. He had thought the fire took her. He had been wrong. Joshua stared at the tablet. "I watched her burn." Ezekiel's voice came out low. "She does not burn." Another memory struck him. Haiti, rain pounding against steel roofs, a hidden prison beneath a ruined compound, his father behind reinforced glass, older, thinner, but still alive. Vivian's operation had kept him there, studied him, questioned him, buried him beneath the world. Ezekiel remembered breaking the lock. He remembered his father grabbing his face with trembling hands. "My son, you should have stayed away." The memory vanished as a humanoid screamed from the tunnel and lunged. Ezekiel raised his rifle and fired with cold precision. It dropped before reaching him. His eyes stayed on the tablet. "She had my father in a cage." Marcus's voice crackled again. "That's not all. Second file incoming." The tablet glitched. A new image appeared. A man in a black suit, cold expression, patient eyes. The file name loaded beneath him. Homay Chio, Joshua frowned. Homay Chio. The tablet screen split. A secure video signal forced its way through. Marcus' voice came through. Nehemiah, I'm patching someone in. He knows this name better than I do. The screen changed. Solomon Maccabees appeared through a broken video feed. Behind him, alarms flashed red across a dark operations room. His face was tense. Nehemiah. Nehemiah kept his rifle up. Solomon. Solomon looked past him through the feed, seeing the movement in the tunnel behind them. You found the lower door. Joshua stepped closer. You knew about this? We knew Vivian was not finished after Haiti, Solomon said. We told you then. Vivian Sinclair does not disappear. She relocates. Ezekiel's eyes hardened. And Homay Chio? Solomon's expression darkened. The ghost. Gunfire cracked behind Nehemiah as Gad dropped another humanoid from the scaffolding. Solomon continued. Homay Chio does not build prisons. He builds routes, people, artifacts, bloodlines, experiments. Whatever the feeders want moved, he makes it vanish. Joshua looked at the tunnel. So Center Creek is a shipping point? No, Solomon said, a pause. Center Creek is a doorway. The ground beneath them vibrated again. Not from a collapse, from movement. A lot of movement. Gad backed up slowly. More come, the tunnel screamed. The second wave came out faster. This time they did not rush blindly. They split. 2 went high, 3 went low. Another crawled sideways across a wall, staying out of the rifle lights. Joshua saw it. They're coordinating, Nehemiah shouted. Back to the equipment line. Move with light. Do not chase them. The team fell back together. Barnabus shoved Ezekiel behind a concrete mixer. Stay behind me, Ezekiel glared. I can fight. I didn't ask. A humanoid burst from under a wrecked truck. Barnabus kicked it in the face and fired down into its spine. Fight from behind me. Above them, suppressed gunfire snapped from the unfinished second floor of the construction site. Bullets hit the dirt near Joshua's feet. Joshua ducked. Human shooters. Nehemiah looked up. Black-clad operators moved along the skeletal building frames. Not mercenaries. Cleaner. Quieter. Better trained. They wore no markings. Marcus cursed over comms. That's not Blackwatch. Solomon's voice came through the tablet. That's Chio's retrieval team. The team was now caught between 2 enemies, humanoids from the tunnel. Homay Chio's operators from above. Nehemiah raised his rifle. Barnabus, Ezekiel, hold left. Gad, take the high shooters. Joshua with me. Gad disappeared behind a bulldozer. A second later, his rifle cracked. One of Chio's men dropped from the scaffold and hit the dirt hard. Gad moved again before anyone saw where the shot came from. Joshua ran with Nehemiah between wrecked vehicles as humanoids scrambled across the ground around them. One leapt onto the hood of a truck. Nehemiah fired. Joshua ducked under its falling body and slid behind cover. Marcus, I need those building plans. Marcus answered through static. Sending now. Joshua's tablet flashed. Blueprint overlays loaded. His eyes moved fast. There's a service corridor behind the west retaining wall. Old drainage route. It connects to the tunnel system. Nehemiah fired upward. Can we seal it? No, Joshua said, but we can force them into light. He looked toward the floodlight tower. If I can get power back. A humanoid slammed into the concrete above them. Nehemiah shot it off the ledge. You got 30 seconds. Joshua sprinted. Chio's operators saw him move and redirected fire. Barnabus stepped into the open and returned fire hard enough to push them back. Run, Joshua! Joshua reached the power junction box. The panel was half destroyed. Sparks snapped from the wires. A humanoid crawled out from beneath the platform, mouth open, silent. Joshua did not see it. Ezekiel did. Joshua! He threw one of the recovered metal scroll cases. It struck the humanoid in the side of the head. The creature turned. Joshua spun and fired. It dropped inches from his boots. Joshua looked back. Ezekiel shouted, "You owe me one." Joshua yanked the panel open. I'll put it on Nehemiah's list. He slammed 2 wires together. The floodlights exploded back to life. White light blasted across the tunnel mouth. The humanoids shrieked. Some recoiled. Some burned across the skin. Others adapted, shielding their faces with long arms. Gad watched them carefully. They hate light. Solomon's voice came from the tablet. They were bred underground, or buried there long enough to become something else. Ezekiel turned toward the tunnel. No. Everyone heard the shift in his voice. He stepped closer to the wall where old symbols had been carved into the concrete beneath newer construction markings. These are older than Center Creek. Marcus said. Older how? Ezekiel brushed dust away, his face tightened. These markings were under Hudson Plantation. Joshua stared. Same language? Same warning. Barnabus fired 2 bursts at the upper level, forcing Chio's men back. What warning? Ezekiel looked toward the tunnel. That the feeders did not create the hunger. A deep clicking sound echoed from inside. Then another. Then dozens. Ezekiel continued. They found it. The words landed heavier than gunfire. Marcus went silent. Solomon lowered his head. That is what we feared. Then every tablet screen, every flickering security monitor, and every half-broken construction display around the site cut to white. A woman's face appeared, silver hair, calm eyes, a soft smile. Vivian Sinclair. Nehemiah slowly turned toward the nearest monitor. Vivian smiled like she had been waiting for him. Nehemiah Davis. Joshua stepped beside him. You should be dead. Vivian's smile widened. You destroyed one operation in Chicago. The screens flickered with old images. Fire, prisoners escaping, feeders torn apart by their own captors, Vivian walking into flame. Then the image changed. Haiti. Cells. Ezekiel's father. Vivian's voice remained smooth. You opened one cage in Haiti. Ezekiel's hands tightened around his weapon. Vivian looked directly at him through the screen. And still, Ezekiel Todd, you never understood what your father was protecting you from. Barnabus raised his weapon at the screen. Say one more word to him. Vivian laughed softly. The sound was worse than shouting. You are brave men, but bravery is not understanding. The screens behind her shifted again. Maps, shipping routes, red lines crossing oceans, China, Japan, ports, private airfields, religious compounds, military contractors, corporate foundations. Joshua stared. This is global. Vivian nodded. The feeders are above governments now. Nehemiah stepped closer to the screen. Then why are you still hiding underground? For the first time, Vivian's smile faded, not fear, annoyance. Before she could answer, Homay Chio appeared on a separate screen. Black suit, still face, no wasted movement. Because Center Creek was never meant to open tonight. Vivian looked at him. Her expression changed, just enough. For the first time, the team saw it. Vivian Sinclair was not alone, and she was not completely in command. Homay Chio spoke softly. Your team has forced a premature exposure. Nehemiah looked between the screens. Good. Homay's eyes shifted to him. No, Mr. Davis, exposure is only dangerous to people who cannot control the story. Gunfire erupted again from the upper level. Chio's retrieval team advanced with precision. One of them carried a sealed black container. Another carried thermal restraints. Marcus saw it through the drone feed. They're not there to kill the humanoids. Joshua looked up. They're there to take one. A humanoid crawled across the wall behind Chio's operators. They did not see it. Gad did. He could have fired. He did not. Nehemiah noticed. Gad? Gad kept his rifle still. Wait. The humanoid dropped onto one of Chio's men. The operator screamed once before disappearing over the ledge with it. Chaos broke across the upper floor. The retrieval team opened fire. Humanoids swarmed toward the sound. Nehemiah seized the moment. Move! West wall! The brothers ran. Bullets tore across the dirt behind them. Humanoids chased the shooters above. A few broke toward the team. Barnabus stayed at the rear, firing as he moved. One humanoid leapt onto his back. Joshua spun. No shot! Barnabus slammed backward into a steel beam, crushing the creature between its body and the metal. It shrieked. He grabbed its arm, ripped it loose from his vest, and threw it into Nehemiah's line of fire. Nehemiah dropped it. Barnabus kept moving like nothing happened. Still on the list, they reached the west retaining wall. Joshua found the drainage access. The door was sealed with an old electronic lock and new biometric plate. He plugged the tablet in. Marcus, I need a bypass. Marcus answered, I'm already in it. The lock flashed red, then red again, then green. The door cracked open. Cold air rushed out. Ezekiel stopped. On the inside of the door, carved deep into the old concrete, was the same mark from Hudson Plantation. Below it was a newer symbol, Homay Chio's mark. Ezekiel looked back at the screens. Vivian watched silently. Homay watched too. Solomon's voice came through the tablet. Do not go too deep. Nehemiah said, we don't have another way out. Solomon leaned closer to the camera. Then listen carefully. Homay Chio does not leave doors open by mistake. Joshua looked through the drainage passage. At the far end, a red emergency light blinked over an underground rail track. What's down there? Marcus's voice came in low. Shipment records. A file finished decrypting on Joshua's tablet. He stared at the destination list. China, another line opened. Japan, another. Rome. Solomon's face hardened. Pope VanDyke. Nehemiah looked at him. Who? Solomon did not answer right away. That silence told them enough. A massive explosion rocked the construction site behind them. Chio's men had begun sealing the tunnel mouth. Floodlights burst. The humanoid screamed from inside the smoke. Vivian's screens flickered. Her face returned one final time. You still think this is about survival? Nehemiah raised his rifle. No, he stared at her. This is about exposure. Vivian smiled again. Then the signal died. The brothers entered the drainage passage. Behind them, the construction site became war. Humanoids attacked anything that moved. Chio's operators fired into the dark. The tunnel mouth filled with smoke, sparks, and screaming shapes. Joshua slammed the door controls. The heavy metal door closed slowly, too slowly. A humanoid arm shot through the gap. Long fingers clawed at the air, inches from Ezekiel's face. Barnabus grabbed the arm with both hands and held it back. Close it! Joshua forced the override. The door crushed shut. The arm fell limp inside the passage. No one spoke. The lights overhead buzzed. Water dripped. Somewhere beyond the sealed door, the humanoid screamed. But now the sound was muffled, distant, waiting. Nehemiah looked at the team. Everyone was breathing hard. Everyone was still alive. Joshua checked the tablet. The files were still downloading. Ezekiel looked down the passage toward the rail line. This was never just Center Creek. Gad lifted his rifle. No, he listened to the dark ahead. There are more doors. Barnabus rolled his shoulder, blood darkening the edge of his vest. Then we closed them. Nehemiah looked at the tablet. Vivian Sinclair, Homay Chio, Pope VanDyke, China, Japan. The Maccabees feed remained active. Solomon Maccabees stared through the cracked signal. Nehemiah, I'm here. When you get out, we need to meet. Nehemiah nodded. Where? Solomon's answer came through static. Not here. The feed glitched. Then one final word appeared on the tablet before the signal cut. Tokyo. Far away, in a private chamber lit by candlelight and digital screens, Homay Chio stood beside Vivian Sinclair. Vivian's face was calm, but her hands were folded tighter than before. On the main screen, the Center Creek feed burned in red and black. Homay Chio watched the brothers disappear into the drainage corridor. They survived. Vivian said nothing. Homay turned slightly. There is someone you need to meet. A second screen came alive. At first, there was only darkness. Then a figure stepped forward, an older man in ceremonial black. Still, powerful. Eyes like a locked door. Homay Chio lowered his head just enough to show respect. Vivian Sinclair, he looked back to the screen. Pope VanDyke. Vivian's smile slowly faded. For the first time all night, she did not speak first. And beneath Center Creek, deep beyond the sealed tunnels, the humanoids began to scream again.